Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blood and Fire Water Podcast. We are a true crime, comedy, discussion type podcast, so don't be alarmed if you hear a slick joke or two, chin. We keep the victims and their families out of the punchlines and focus more on other people, places, and things about the case. I'm your host, Rashad, and with that squared away, let's talk about Ryan Poston and the case of Shayna Hubers. This case has some hints of the Jodi Arias case, if you've ever heard of it. The one where she Kappa her boyfriend's data. Anyway, if you've never heard of it, boyfriend wants to break up, girlfriend doesn't. Same song and dance. This case takes place in Kentucky in the hometown of Ryan Poston. Born on December 30th, 1982, he was raised in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, the oldest of four younger sisters. He seemed to be much of a foreign exchange student most of high school, and he graduated while he was in Switzerland. Back stateside, Ryan attended Indiana University, where he triple majored. Okay? Triple majored in history, geography, and political science. Then went to law school at the Salmon P. Chase. Salmon or Salmon? Anyway, we'll talk about it. College of Law at North Kentucky University to become a lawyer in family tradition. After completing his Juris Doctor degree, Poston began working as an attorney in Cincinnati, Ohio. This puts us around 2011, and Ryan was 28. Handsome young guy, probably never had a lonely night, if you know what I mean. But one night, a girl by the name of Shayna Hubers caught his eye on the old Facebook. Shayna was friends of Ryan's cousin, so there you go. That's how he saw her first. Now, if you look closely at the picture that I'm looking at, and if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel, by the way. The picture that I have of Shayna, like when I first Googled her, I was like, oh, that's a lovely picture. And then I zoomed in a little bit, only to realize that this was a correctional facility. So I think we know where this story is headed. But don't get me wrong, her Facebook pictures are nice though. And it looked as if she had some modeling pictures taken, so who knows as much truth is behind those line eyes. Also, foreshadowing. But her life in academia was spotless. Born April 8th, 1991, Shayna received straight A's in high school, many AP classes, awards, and most importantly, the over-obsessive need to succeed, and also boys. According to her closest friends, Shayna would go completely boy crazy, obsessing over whoever she was dating at the time. So Ryan sees Shayna's Facebook profile, does a little tappy tap tap on the keys, works his magic, and they set up a date to meet on Shayna's 20th birthday, and they began dating soon after. Shayna at the time was a psychology student at the University of Kentucky in Lexington, approximately 10 miles from Highland Heights, the residence of Ryan Poston. She graduated cum laude and was pursuing a master's degree in counseling. So naturally, you would think she had a good head on her shoulders. And not only that, but she could tell if other people's heads were also good on their shoulders. She at least had a level of maturity that would attract a 28-year-old male like Ryan. Well, at least for the first 18 months or so. But it was, what's the word I'm looking for? Tumultuous. That's it. It wasn't good. And that's good. Go ahead and catch the red flags early on. And Ryan caught every single one. And they would break up, but they would get back together. And then they would break up, and then they would get back together. Same recipe. Something about a woman's tears can just break the hardest man down, though. Remember when I told you about Shayna's obsession with success and boys? Well, this is that. She grew more and more possessive, more and more obsessive, and began to concern Ryan's family. But Ryan was already restraining order concerned about the whole thing. Shayna was off her rocker, all right, showing up at his condo, blowing his phone up, blowing his social medias up with, you guessed it, crazy. To Shayna's account of the relationship, it had been quite the opposite. She said Ryan had been abusing her verbally, physically, and mentally. The CDV trifecta. He had been telling her things like she needed to lose weight, she needed a boob job, he would ignore her for days. Then, when he did talk to her, it was all of those bad things that I just said. But the good times were good, of course. There had to be some good times. 18 months. One specific picture on Shayna's social media shows the couple having a great night at a gun range on October 2nd, 2012. Don't worry, going to come up later. That same night, a text from Shayna's phone to her friend said, quote, "A part of me wanted to turn around and shoot him. I wonder why he's taking me on dates and stuff, LOL. I'm not going to turn down learning how to shoot a gun. Haha," unquote. So over the next week or so, the relationship hit another brick wall, and Ryan met a one Miss Ohio 2012, Audrey Bolt, on the old flirt book. And they had planned a date for the 12th of October. I'm assuming Ryan thought the relationship between him and Shayna was over and didn't think that Shayna was the level 88 creeper that she was, because she saw that they had become friends on Facebook, and she also became friends with Miss Ohio on Facebook, and she was able to find out the deets on their little date on the 12th. So Shayna turns the cringe level up a bit. She has to, resort to sending nonstop text. And I mean like nonstop text, like 100-to-1 ratio type text. And need I add that this is only a relationship that was 18 months. Like over 50,000 text messages and over 1,000 images were sent in the course of 18 months. What? Hold on. 18 months. Let's get this shit. 1,000 divided by, let's just 18. That's 2,700 text messages a month, and then over 1,000 images. I don't know if that's the worst. 2,000? I don't know. I don't think I send 2,000. I think I send in somewhere in the low hundreds now. Shayna began to make up medical conditions, literally WebMDing medical conditions, and basically reading them to Ryan like she was on her deathbed. She also made up an aunt dying in Hawaii, and she was leaving on a one-way ticket to, be with her aunt, but she needed him to take her on the night of the 12th. Shayna pulled basically all stops. She also decided to pull out a gun. On the night of the 12th of October, as Ryan started out for his date with Miss Ohio 2012 at 9:30 p.m. at the Milford Inn bar, Ryan would not make it because he was dead. He was dead because Shayna decided to show up, and things escalated quite quickly.
Have you been injured?
She needed that 15 minutes to come up with this story of a domestic dispute after one of her wires got crossed and something violent happened. The story, according to Shayna, is that she showed up to get some stuff that belonged to her, whatever, combs, brushes, Jolly Ranchers. Then an argument ensued. She was thrown to and or against a wall, something that has happened before. Remember? Physical, mental, verbal. Then Ryan goes for a gun laying on the kitchen table. But Shayna was able to recover her senses quickly enough to grab the gun from the table before Ryan, then fired the first shot from the floor. I find it hard to believe that someone who wants to break up with someone would attack them for said breakup. But for whatever reason, according to Shayna, after whatever threat Ryan had been to her allegedly, he was immobilized but not dead from the first shot. She would go on to shoot him 2 more times. She saw him twitching, he was in a lot of pain, so it was on her for a mercy kill at this point. After 3 bullets, Ryan was still alive. 1 bullet to his kappa, the other 2 to his dictator. Shayna had a gold opportunity to call the police, report the incident, do the right thing. But does she? You bet your ass she didn't. Shayna shot Ryan 2 more times, completely neglected the phone call to the 911, and then just took the law into her own hands. But Ryan was still alive. She shot him for the 6th time in the head for the 2nd time. There's a lot of numbers in this case. I don't like it. Poston had been shot a total of 6 times. 2 to the head, 2 to the chest, 1 to the side, and 1 to his back. So let's just go ahead and get to the questioning.
And I just picked up the gun, and in the middle of him doing something with his arm or saying something crazy, shot him. And I thought, oh my God, what have I done? You know, he was laying with his face on the table, like twitching. And so I knew he was going to die a very slow and painful death. I knew he was already dead, you know, within the next 20 seconds, within the next 2 minutes, I knew he was going to be dead. And he was in a lot of pain. He was twitching, he was moaning, but he was ultimately dead. And so I shot him enough times to kill him so that he wouldn't suffer at that point, which was a few more times. And I shot him, I think I shot him twice. Thought he was completely dead, and he was laying there still, twitching and making noises. And I shot him in the head. I probably should have left it there, but I knew he was going to die. Mm-hmm. Or have a very deformed face. And you were concerned. And I knew, oh no, he would have died. He was already dying. He was dying. But I just walked around the table and shot him where I knew he would die immediately. In fact, his obsession with guns killed him. You know, I would have never, I'm so Democrat, I would have never touched a gun in my life until I dated him. I'm not your typical murderer. No, not someone that you see on TV. He said, you're just a hillbilly from Kentucky. And I am. The hillbilly came out of me. I took that. It's sad that part of me doesn't feel bad about it. That part of me does. You know what I mean? Like, part of me is like, he hit me. He threw me. How sweet the sound that I sang.
Well, there really wasn't much questioning. The police never actually asked her any questions. During the 3 hours she was talking, during her rant, that whole spiel, she made some inexplicable points as to how she'd never fired a gun before she had met Ryan, and how his addiction to guns is what got him killed because my guy, Ryan Poston, had guns. Like a plethora of guns. She explained life after this, like when she gets out, this little situation she's found herself in. She's unsure if she can date after this. Who wants to marry her? Who wants to marry a murderer anyway? Well, there's a lot of women out there, so there's that. I mean, she was talking about career choices. She, if she moves on to multiple scenarios of how she actually got the gun in the first place. First, Ryan was sitting, then he was standing, he was coming towards her, then he turned away. 3 hours of this. I watched it. Then the remark about giving him the nose job he always wanted to happen.
The table, and there's a lamp, and he had put his arm across the table and had it in my face and was screaming at me at the top of his lungs after he had thrown me around the room, and was saying emotionally to me, "You're a f***ing hillbilly. I f***ing hate you. I hate everything about you for what you are, and my family hates it." And he was screaming it, and he had his hand on the table, and he wasn't completely standing up. He was like this. He was sitting. He was enough that when I shot him, he went like this. Literally. That's when I knew he was dead, or close to it, and twitching. And I couldn't. I let him. I still, even though the hurt, I still, enough of me loved him that I couldn't stand to watch him twitch. I knew he was going to die or have a completely deformed face. He's very vain. One of our last conversations we had that was good was that he wants my best friend who's a dentist to do his veneers and wants to get a nose job. Just that kind of person. And I shot him right here. I gave him his nose job. He wanted.
And let me tell you something. She was being a little cocky about shooting somebody in the face. Like, you can't do, you just can't do that. And please don't get me started about the singing part or this last little part that she snuck in.
I did. Yes, I did. I can't believe I did that.
Hubers was arrested for murder, obviously. Her bail was set at $5 million, and her family was not able to come up with the $5 million bail. And she remained at Campbell County Jail until her trial date in April of 2015. The prosecution came out swinging. They knew Shayna killed Ryan because he wasn't even trying to move. He was just trying to move on. And Shayna was not about that life. She was more or less, okay, if you're not going to be with me, you're not going to be with anybody kind of girl. The prosecution added that there had been zero signs of struggle inside the apartment. The bullet wounds didn't coincide with Huber's story, and witnesses in the apartment said that they didn't hear anything that sounded like a domestic disturbance until they heard 2 pops, which they mistook as fireworks, then 4 more pops in rapid succession. The defense argued that Shayna was abused verbally and physically from Ryan, and on the night in question, killed in self-defense. However, her defense didn't make sense. At least it didn't make sense to the jury. When Shayna was taken in for questioning/confessioning, which was played in court, she had no visible signs, no visible defense wounds, no nothing whatsoever. Oh, also, let's not forget she shot him 6 times because, in her eyes, Ryan wouldn't want to live after the bullet wounds that she put in his face twice. And then in the 911 call, told the operator that she waited 10 to 15 minutes before she called emergency services.
And how long ago did you shoot him? I don't know, 10 minutes, not even that long. Like 10 or 15 minutes ago? Yeah.
This was used by her defense counsel in hopes that she would get a self-defense plea, maybe / battered woman defense, something of the sort. The most damaging part of the entire trial, in my opinion, at least for Shayna, was the multiple gunshots she fired, along with the nose job comment that was played in court, along with the rest of her unsolicited confessioning the night of the shooting. Remember, they didn't ask her anything. She just started confessing. On April 23, 2015, Shayna Hubers was charged with the murder of Ryan Poston and sentenced to 40 years with the eligibility for parole after 20. But that's not the end of the story. In 2016, her trial was thrown out over a jury technicality. One of the jurors was a felon and lied on some of the paperwork. So Shayna was eligible for another trial that took place August 8, 2018. In this trial, Shayna took the stand to testify in her own defense, unlike in the first trial. And as you might have guessed, her story changed once again. Oh, wait, they were sitting at a table, then reached for the gun. Or wait, she already had the gun and his back was turned. I don't know anymore. And I really don't think she does either, but a lie doesn't care who tells it. She does more damage than good in her second trial, landing her a sentence of life instead of 40 years with the possibility of parole after 20. That being said, you can catch her at her first parole hearing in 2032. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode. Us here at BFW, we really do appreciate it. Be sure to drop by our socials. We just started a YouTube channel, Blood and Fire Water Podcast. You got to use the ampersand. I've noticed that. You got to use the ampersand. We got a TikTok where I'm starting to make videos now. It's called BFW Crime Store. You come here, you get crime for free. And then, same as always, Instagram, Blood and Fire Water Podcast, Twitter, BFW Pod Squad. Let's get some conversations going. Let's talk about some true crime shit. Let's talk about some true crime shit. Oh yeah, Patreon. Damn. Patreon members, I'm so sorry. I'm going to get back to making more personal videos for y'all and more for that platform. Stay alert, stay alive, Rashad out.